You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Be warned that once you pick up a refreshingly cold drink from McDonald's and people see just how refreshingly cold that drink from McDonald's is, you may create drink envy. Because there are drinks, then there are drinks from McDonald's.
For a morning brew that really creates a stir, get any size iced coffee, including caramel and French vanilla, for just 99 cents before 11 a.m. Price and participation may vary, cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
So what you're about to hear is a taste, a morsel of Pablo Torre Finds Out today. It's Sharon Tell, it's Mina Kimes, it's Dan Batard, and it's Tom Brady, in a sense. So that's this. For the rest of it, though, which gets into lots of stuff involving the fate of the Republic, and also whether Mina Kimes has more group chats than anyone else on the planet, that's over in our feed on YouTube, or our podcast thing, which I guess also called a feed. It's been a long week. Enjoy. I did not expect to be the guy bringing the football topic today, but I have been really interested in what we're supposed to do with Tom Brady as he is, replacing Greg Olsen in the booth next year for Fox. And we all know that story by now. Greg Olsen has, it's just impossible to be better at this than he has while also losing your job. And so there was this clip of Tom Brady that went viral recently that I want to play for you guys because it was this glimmer. It was framed and hailed as a glimmer of what he could be, which is to say, like, actually interesting, question mark? If you can play that.
They're just calling probabilities. Okay, there's a probability on third down. In short, they're going to play man-to-man coverage. So therefore, on my call sheet, I'm going to call my man-to-man beaters. Oh, they didn't call man-to-man. Looks like, a simple cover two zone. This play isn't really working for that. Okay, in my mind, it'd be like, okay, let me get to my best cover two play against this look, as opposed to now we get the ball. Okay, we've got a bunch of crossing routes into cover two. That's not good. Let me hold the ball and go run it. And then people on TV go, oh, great play, way to run. And in my mind, I'm going, why did you snap the ball? I mean, you clearly knew no one's going to be open.
And so that's just Brady talking to Steve Young on his podcast and having an edge to him, and also just this conviction, which made him automatically interesting to me. And Mina, I just want to know for you, right? Like, there's this conversation, and you've been in a booth calling NFL games for the Rams.
He's going to have to tighten it up. Those windows are small. Like, if he thinks he's going to have the ability to explain all of that, he better speed that shit up.
Right. So how do you foresee the Tom Brady experiment going as he is basically handed a job that everyone else has to climb a ladder through mud and many sharp elbows to get to?
What I found interesting about that clip is not so much the substance of what he's saying, right? Which is he's criticizing a quarterback using his legs for basically not engaging in the sort of pre-snap mastery that Tom Brady engaged in, which I have to think Brady has probably watched a lot of quarterback mobility over the last few years and been silently seething. He only ran because he needed to run. But
I have, Mina, not to interrupt you too much here, but I do think that he will be paid $375 million to bitterly excoriate that Mahomes is not as good as him in every game that he calls of Mahomes.
Oh, that'd be...
I can't wait for that. As he calls all of football mediocre and just drains down, right. just rains down upon Mahomes. He's not as good as I was. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's what's interesting about the clip. So I do think something that either bothers you or you love is when announcers are critical of quarterbacks. Like whenever you see Chris Collinsworth trending on Twitter, it's usually NFL fans complaining about him being too positive about a quarterback. I would say the reverse has been true of Aikman in the past. Troy Aikman tends to be more critical of quarterbacks. I love it personally. I think it's really funny. And I think he had a fantastic year too. So I think what we saw there was a glimpse of the possibility that Dan alluded to, which is Tom Brady might actually be critical. I have never heard, like, the clip of him complaining about the NFL, that was very general, right? But if he actually does what he did there, let's say we turn on a game and it's Jalen Hurts and he's just struggling against the blitz again. Tom Brady going in on him would be the most controversial and interesting thing Tom Brady has ever said. So if he actually were to do that, and then given his the fact that he has the authority to do so, I would find that fascinating. I hope that that's the case.
I am most interested in this part of it, and he's an old man by athletic standards. So he is approaching 50, and the way that he's approaching this, when athletes struggle a great deal with what do I do after I have buried who I used to be, after I have grieved that my identity is I was Tom Brady who played, and now I'm Tom Brady who talks about this and wants to be successful and am treating it competitively. I'm going to sit out a year until I get good at this. And I ask you, Mina, because I do believe this part is funny and interesting. I believe Tony Romo's enthusiasm, just like John Gruden's. You like football, I like football, that works. Hey, Tony Romo, there has to be an intervention with you and CBS executives because you're not taking this job seriously enough. I really don't know what the balance is on this. I think Tom can take it so seriously that he strangles it, or he could get good at it, but I do wonder if he thinks he's going to get his smart off in 15 seconds at a time. Enthusiasm and likability counts for something. He's starting from a likable place, but the fact that he cares so much about this, I think can be as a preparation. It can give him comfort, but it also can be over-prepared, and you can think you've got this handled and not have it handled because you're not treating it as relaxed as Romo did from the beginning.
I also think that we're talking a lot about the craft of announcing, and we should, because it's a really interesting job. It is a very, high-paying job. It's a very high-profile job. There's a reason, by the way, that like the greatest of truly, like Wayne Gretzky is calling, or he's like in the studio doing like hockey commentary now. Tom Brady wants to be in the booth, the greatest of all time. Would LeBron want to do this? He seemed to enjoy being at the desk after winning a championship, being very open and interesting, right? So I get why people want to do this. I just think it's very funny that inside of any sort of like broadcast network, the conversation is very simple. It's like, oh, get Tom Brady. Yeah, him. We want Tom Brady, period. Because on some level, you just want to know what he thinks. Like everything he says would make news in a way that must be infuriating to like other competitors for that job. Like Greg Olsen went from a tight end who was like mildly well known, to most normal people, if at all, to Tom Brady, where it's just like whatever his take is inherently interesting because that's how good he used to be. Now, there's going to be a diminishing returns on that, where if he's like super boring all of the time, people will stop being interested. But the bar, the floor
because
on
of who
him,
he is. Yeah,
because you just want to know what Tom Brady thinks.
But what if what
and
he
that's
thinks,
going to carry him through a lot of the first year.
But what if what he thinks is that football today is more mediocre than when he played it? That's his starting point. His starting point is not the affection for football. Now, we know he loves football, but Olsen and Romo make you feel like they're enjoying their Sunday as much as you are. Brady's starting point is, I think the product's mediocre the moment I leave the field.
I don't think he's going to be a crank. That dude loves the game. I mean, the brief glimpses you get of him on the field where he does show personality, so what we're talking about is that clip is him criticizing quarterback play, but quarterback play isn't the entire broadcast, just that. Like, I think Tom Brady, I just picture Tom Brady calling a Niners game and watching the way Christian McCaffrey is used. He'll go crazy about it. For example, just throwing that out. I'm actually pretty optimistic about the depth of both the tone, which is what we're talking about, and the depth of knowledge he's going to bring. And I think because of who he is, as Pablo said, it adds an additional layer of interest. To me, it just sucks that like he's replacing Greg Olsen, who is doing such a fantastic job.
Those are big shoes to fill. I thought that he was pretty critically celebrated almost by consensus. I know it's a ridiculous thing to say, how will Tom Brady ever replace Greg Olsen? But Greg Olsen, I felt like was a huge media darling. Not since Romo had I seen a broadcasting. Not since Romo was correctly predicting plays on television had I seen a broadcaster of any kind, any sport, celebrated the way that Greg Olsen was for starting as a rookie and being great at it immediately.
But that's also why I imagine Tom Brady is putting out clips like this. Like he's hearing this. That must be so frustrating for Tom Brady to be like, wait a minute, you guys do know who I am, right? So if we as a media organism can basically dare Tom Brady enough to be interesting, it's kind of like that guy cannot possibly pull off this comeback with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I feel like we can actually shame him into being interesting.
His one personality trait that we know of is competitive freak.
Yes.
That dude is hearing all of this. And by the way, like, when he took a second, right? He didn't jump right into the booth. Again, knowing what we know about him, he's probably been doing an insane amount of preparation. Like, he's not, like, the criticism of Romo now is that he's maybe not as prepared as he was initially. These are all the, leaked stories we're seeing. That's not going to be the case with Tom Brady based on everything we know about him.
But Mina, I would say to you as someone who has done that, I would say to you as someone who has a lot of information at her disposal, you know how fast all that moves. You can prepare for that. Tom Brady, I'm sure, will have a lot of things to say and not enough time to say them because you are not prepared for how quickly all of that moves when you've got 700 sheets of paper in front of you and you need to know who the backup nickel package is on the left side, who's in too deep coverage this time. You need to know I don't think people understand that Al Michaels every week for 17 times a year or however long it is, that the burden that is Al Michaels at his age just learning every player on the roster because you need to know who recovered that fumble.
As opposed to the NFL when he had 3 seconds to identify every player on the field and get off like a perfect pass. What are we talking about here?
I just want to send Tom Brady, specifically that clip of Dan. Just watch this and make my Sundays better as a result.
My concern about Tom Brady, the broadcaster, is not anything Dan said, which is, come on, it's that he was going to be bland. And that's why this clip has got me intrigued. Because if he's willing to criticize quarterback play, he will not be bland. That was my, I was just like, oh, is he going to be afraid? Because this dude is studiously non-controversial.
Right. Well, he's political with his takes. Yes.
But you guys laugh at me as if the difference between sculpting 25 years of I need the ball out in 2 seconds and, hey, Tom, be smart, funny, and interesting in 4 seconds. Go, as if that's not an entirely different skill set.
He doesn't have to be funny.
He can be, not be smart.
You hear that, Brady? Brady, you hear that?
Be smart, interesting, and likable, and do it in 7 seconds here. And don't step on your lead guy because he's got to get to the next play because it's hurry up offense now.
I don't know. I'm not worried.
Look, I'm the guy who said 7 years before his career was done that he was declining. And he had another Hall of Fame career after that. I'm certainly used to questioning Tom Brady. I'm just saying that the degree of difficulty on this, no amount of preparation actually prepares you for it. The first time he does it, he will feel like he was less good than he wanted to be because no amount of preparation will prepare you for it.
I just can't wait to psychoanalyze every little thing he says about Patrick Mahomes.
It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good.
TurboTax experts make all your moves count. Filing with 100% accuracy and getting your max refund guaranteed. So whether you worked a side hustle to afford season tickets to your favorite sports team or moved states and adopted a new team, switch to TurboTax and make your moves count. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Dan Batard.
All of us who were watching college football elevated everything the weekend was because we missed football in general so very much.
You didn't watch the ending of UTEP Jacksonville State. It was awesome.
A dizzy. Boom. Mm-hmm. Stugotz.
It's such a lane for you. Just everything in college football is awesome. Any single thing that happens, she gets deliriously happy about.
Don't you miss viewing sports through that prism, though? Like, I'm envious of Lucy. Like, I wish that I could still be happy.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz.
What's up, fight fans? Welcome to another episode of the MMA Hangout. It's your boy, Tony Kaladiud, and today we're diving deep into the main event of UFC 298, Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria, undisputed versus undefeated for featherweight gold. And we're here to give you everything you need to know if you plan on watching this weekend. Joining me is the one and only Danny Segura from MMA Junkie. Danny, what's up, brother? This is a massive fight, and we are only 1 month into the UFC calendar, and we've got a legend versus an undefeated, just beast monster. He's incredible. I am so excited for this fight.
Yeah. The last few fight nights have been quite terrible, and so was the first pay-per-view of the year. So this one on paper promises to deliver. So I'm super excited to finally, starting 2024, getting some quality mixed martial arts. So I'm all in on this fight and on this fight card. It's amazing. If you are kind of on the fence on whether or not you should watch it, this is it. This is it. I mean, we might be witnessing the end of an era, the start of a new one. We're going to get into it in just a few seconds, but super stoked for this fight.
The UFC last year put on banger after banger after banger. And this time last year, we were looking at Volk versus Makhachev in the first of their two fights, which was an instant classic. And now we're looking at, a year later, we're looking at Volkanovski again defending another featherweight title against somebody who has been... I'm running out of words and adjectives to describe Ilia Topuria to people. He is feels like a once-in-a-generation fighter, even though he hasn't fought the cream of the crop of his division. He hasn't fought Yair. He hasn't fought T-City. He hasn't fought a lot of these guys, but he's getting the fast track to a title. Can you explain to the people, Ilia Topuria, his rise and what he means right now in this title fight?
Yeah, so this was an interesting one, and I've been caught in like a weird situation with this one because I saw this coming like a long time ago. I feel like people are now seeing like, oh, snap, it's Ilia Topuria, this and that. But because of my coverage in Spanish as well, because I do coverage in both English and Spanish, I've been witnessing the rise in popularity, maybe a little bit fast forwarded than everybody else, because it's come through the Spanish side first, and then it's kind of had a lag effect on the English one. So just now people are realizing like, oh my God, we might have like a very, very talented fighter could go on to lead, to be a champion. People are saying win or lose, like he's bound to be champion. He might lose this one, but eventually he's going to get to the belt. He's going to be a pound for pound, one of the best in the world. Like people are already just putting him as a future great. And he's giving everybody reasons to believe that. And again, as you mentioned, not only is the skill there, but, he just has sort of a tone about him that's very cool. That's kind of like a villain type. And he does a very good job at marketing himself. He's good looking, as you mentioned. He's got an entire country of Spain backing him. And Spain right now is so hot in terms of just hunger for MMA. I've never seen traffic like we've been seeing in the last few months in terms of just a specific country. Just to give some people some insight, over at Hablemos MMA, where I do my Spanish work, 46% of the audience is from Spain.
Wow.
I mean, nearly half of the audience of Hablemos MMA is Spanish, and that's trumping, Hispanic Americans, all of South America, Central America, Mexico, which we know are huge countries for mixed martial arts. So right now, we're just witnessing something very, very special for Spain, and specifically, obviously, for Ilia Topuria.
And just looking at this matchup, right, we like to do things differently here on MMA Hangout. Like, yes, this is a monster matchup. Yes, we will technically break down the fight in a little bit. But we want to answer questions for people that are both watching this for the first time, getting into MMA, but also have a foundational knowledge of the sport and of the fight and of the narratives of these fights. And you, in other
words, let me interrupt here. And in other words, in parentheses, in small words, when you watch the fight at a bar, you know what you're talking about. So you're not an idiot asking around, hey, who is this guy? We got you covered. You're going to sound like the biggest expert. You know everything you need to know from this preview.
Exactly. What I see here, Danny, is we are looking at one of those moments in time, right? And it goes across sports where the baton looks to be passed from one generation to the next generation. And Alexander Volkanovski is an incredible champion. He's defended his belt 1,000 times against some of the best fighters in the world. He's gone up. He's looked good. Obviously, this past one where he got knocked out with the high head kick, and it could happen to anybody. But he's looked as solid as a champion has looked through his reign in the featherweight division.
He's never lost.
He's never lost in the featherweight division. So for those of you, this will be a nice little nugget when you're at the bar or when you're at your buddy's house. There have been 4 featherweight champions in the last 15 years. 4 of them. Jose Aldo, McGregor, Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski. That's it.
And he's beat 3 of them. McGregor no longer in the division.
And he's beat 3 of them, and he's beat other guys that probably will be champions in the next couple of years. Yair Rodriguez, mainly the most impressive one. Mm-hmm. But it looks like this is the moment where we saw it in basketball where Magic and Bird passed it to Jordan, who passed it to Kobe, who passed it to LeBron. We saw it in football where all the quarterbacks would pass it down. Now Brady to Mahomes. Mahomes just winning another Super Bowl. It feels like if this is the moment, Volkanovski can pass it down to the next generation, Ilia Topuria. It feels to me a bit like the situation where McGregor came in, had some fights against guys that were okay, but was a star, then took that turn where he knocked out Jose Aldo, and then the sky was the limit for him. Like, if Ilia can knock out Volk or beat him the way that he's talking about beating him, this is the stage setter where the sky is the limit for this kid.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. We're looking almost at 2 storylines competing against each other, right? Is Volk too old, right? Is he getting old? Or, is this a new start of Ilia Topuria and in his era? Or is Volk still at the top, right? Like, there's all these questions surrounding who's the man at this point in time. And it's crazy because Volkanovski, as you mentioned, has defended the belt 1 million times. He, not so long ago, was the #1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet as far as mixed martial arts is concerned. Just the most respected guy you can find in mixed martial arts, right? He has a rough 2023, going 1-2, losing twice to Islam Makhachev in attempts to become a 2-division UFC champion by moving up to lightweight. But he does defend his belt at 145 pounds against Jair Rodriguez. So if we just erase what's happening a weight class above, the dude's had a spotless record, right? But he is 35 years old, and I want to throw out a stat out there. You can throw that at the bar, too. You look like a genius. Between 125 pounds and 170, which are considered the lighter weight classes, in title fights, fighters that are 35 or older are 4-31. And 2 of those wins came on the women's side. And 2 of those other wins came on the men's side, but with 1 fighter, Tyron Woodley.
T-Wood.
If you look at the track record, Usman, Cejudo, like all these greats that have fought for titles at 35 plus,
doesn't end good.
Statistically, you do not do well. So stats are against Volkanovski here. He's coming off 2 losses in 2023. He's talked about the mental health issues. He was day drinking and had a bit of a spell, right? Like, if there's a time to pass the torch, right? If there's a time to fight Volkanovski, which there'll never be a good time to fight him, it's always going to be a tough fight, it's now. And he's facing an undefeated, hungry, super confident, somebody that already changed his Instagram bio
to champion.
UFC featherweight champion. I mean,
he's got the movie coming out too.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things I love. Let's really quick give people technical breakdowns for the last 2 minutes here. Volkanovski, incredible on his feet, incredible on the ground. Topuria, the same thing. And you were there in person when he flattened Josh Emmett 14 times.
Yeah.
And Josh Emmett's a tough guy to bring down, and he was just destroying him all fight. He's great on the ground, Greco-Roman background, great on his feet. Like, this is a clash of the titans where at both levels, on the ground and on the feet, they're excellent.
Yes. This is like Terminator 2. Arnold was that older version of the Terminator. And then you got the guy that's got the fluid metal. That's how it is. It's like Ilia just seems like the 2.0 version. But, man, that experience, that aura of greatness, the fact that you've been there, defended your belt, Arnold is Arnold, right? Like so. I don't know, man. This is a fantastic one. But yes, this is Ilia Topuria is by far the most well-rounded fighter that Volkanovski has faced at 145 pounds. Right. Ilia Topuria is way more well-rounded than Ortega, than Jay Rodriguez, than Holloway. You meant like whoever it is, this is it. This is his toughest test and is coming at his most vulnerable point. They're both very, very skilled, very similar. I would say that Topuria is a bit more of a bruiser, likes to move forward, likes to put on the pain. Volkanovski's a bit more strategic, likes to pick his spots, his attacks. He's a little bit more finesse, but just a beautiful storyline and a beautiful matchup, just technically speaking, really.
What do you think? We got less than a minute. Is the torch being passed down to Ilia Topuria, or is Volk gonna just dig deep and find some magic, some Volk magic from back in the day? I'm pushing all of my chips on the center of the table, and I think Ilia Topuria is going to be our featherweight champion. I'm pushing them all into the middle right now.
This is going to be, I feel like, a war, a 5-round war, where it feels like both fighters won. Both fighters are going to have respect for each other, but in the end, I think Ilia Topuria is going to get his hand raised.
I think I've listened to him on Ariel's show, just listening to things he's talking about. He's like, I've manifested this. I've seen this before. I'm going to get my hand raised. And he's been right every single time. He's got the rose waiting for – he's got a rose for every fighter that he's faced. He's got a rose for Volkanovski, put in the box. Like, this is going to be one of the best fights of the year. We can already say it's February, and it's going to be one of the best fights in the year. And that's including 299, 300 that the main event still hasn't been talked about. Like, there's a lot of stuff to go yet in this year. And this is the fight that I'm probably most excited for. Danny Segura, MMA Junkie, plug your stuff on the way out, brother.
Yeah, check out my English work over at MMA Junkie and my Spanish work at Hablemos MMA.
Love it, bro. A lot of good stuff on this card, too. Buy the card. This is going to be exciting. MMA Hangout coming soon. I think we're going to be live somewhere. I'll let you guys know soon. Peace. Love you.
Starting is everything when it comes to fitness. Peloton helps you start no matter what level you're at. Wherever you're starting, there's thousands of classes to get you moving. Whether that's beginners or advanced rides, feel-good live DJ rides, or artist-themed rides, they've got something for you. Peloton bike instructors keep you motivated from day one. They'll show you the basics, help take the guesswork out of your workout, and encourage you to build from there. And now with Peloton Entertainment, you can keep moving and watch your favorite TV shows and live sports as you ride. Perfect for those days when you don't want to miss a thing. And if you don't have a bike, take a dance class, take a core class, take Pilates, take a stretching class, start a program with Andy, do a core program with Emma. You can do it all at Peloton. You can get a Peloton row, and you're not even going to get wet because it's inside your own house without water. How'd they do it? I don't know. Wherever you're starting, get moving with a Peloton bike or Bike Plus rental at onepeloton.com/bike rentals. Terms apply.
Dan Batard.
Teammates can't shoot from 3. Now they're gonna see a different Jimmy. Now he's just playing Nickelback in the locker room, and
Stugotz.
They'll play D and shoot 3s as they chase the Nets for the 6th seed. These 5 words in his head scream, "Are we winning games yet?"
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Welcome back to the ThomaHawk Show. We are talking the Super Bowl with JuJu Gotti. Here, I am your host, Andrew Hawkins, a.k.a. Hawk, as always. Look, so we've seen the 49ers take the L against Patrick Mahomes. And, of course, the conversation is going to be around everything that the 49ers did wrong. Specifically, in this game, people were up in arms around Coach Kyle Shanahan's decision to take the ball first in overtime, because they say it gave Patrick Mahomes an advantage because he went into that drive knowing what he needed to get, and it gave him essentially the thoughts that it was 4-down territory. So, JuJu, you tell me, when you were watching the game and you hear the conversation, – where do you fall on the spectrum as it pertains to Kyle Shanahan's in-game decision-making?
I think, first of all, I think the 49ers, they did a great job. I think 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 they did a great job Bro, he just got to keep it real, bro. He got to admit, like, bro, I didn't know what was going on because the more you dig this hole, you just digging deeper and deeper. We wanted the ball third. Bro, Patrick Mahomes over there. You might not even get the ball second. You mess around with that boy. So I think him, Juszczyk, everybody, they in the same boat we was, bro. I didn't know what was going on while the game was there. I can admit it. I seen the clock ticking down, 9. I'm like, what is happening? Because I wasn't listening to Tony Romo. Tony Romo, for me, bro, it's hard for me to listen to Tony Romo over.
Why Tony Romo taking shots, man? What he do?
Tony Romo need to calm down sometimes. He be, Jim. And I don't like his energy sometimes. So I muted his ass. So I'm looking at the game like, what is happening? These boy got supreme confidence. So and the rules were, long story short, Kyle Shanahan, keep it real, bro. You ain't know what was going on. That's my opinion. And the more you try to lie, not like he was trying to have another plan. Nah, bro, come on home, bro. It's all right. You lost the Super Bowl. Yeah, bro.
You just messed up. Look, I actually don't mind the decision to take the ball first. Here's why. If in the event, the more concerning thing was that other players didn't know the rules. Right. And I didn't know the rules either. So I'm not pointing the finger, but I'm also not playing in the Super Bowl. So whatever. Exactly. But the fact that the players didn't know the rules is more of an issue than his decision to take the ball first. You know, you could say, okay, I wanted the ball third if we score or whatever. But I would also say that some players play better without the pressure on them.
Right.
And if Mahomes goes down there and scores, maybe Brock Purdy in this offense isn't as smooth. There are players that play better whenever the heat is not on. So in that respect, you got to know your team. I can't wait till players' biometric data becomes public, and that's like when you see players' heart rate and, you know, what's going on inside of them, like the game within the game, because as fans, that will
Terminator 3 is you talking about.
Yeah, man, you don't know. So basically you wear there's wearables like watches or, you know, things that we would put on our chest that would measure your heart rate in a moment. So it could tell you when somebody is feeling the pressure, and the people who are cold as ice, their heart rate and pressure don't rise in the craziest situations. So in that moment, we would be able to say like, yo, this dude is super nervous.
Right.
Absolutely. He can't play. He plays better when there's no pressure on him. That's a real thing. And that's like, again, the elements within the game, but we're probably a couple seasons away from that. But I was okay with the fact that they took the ball first to be aggressive. But like I said, I'm not okay with the fact that the players had no idea about the overtime rules. And in their mind, they were going to go down there, score a touchdown, and the game was going to be over. In the playoffs, with the new rule change, that is not the case.
I say 3rd and 4 though. Their decision that play that they backpedaling and all out blitz almost at 3rd and 4, it doesn't seem like they was taking it as serious as I thought they would. Like, you supposed to call the play of your life in those situations. Even on 4th and 4, that's Patrick Mahomes over there, bro. Like, I feel like Kyle could have schemed them boys a little bit differently, in my opinion, on the couch at home.
I don't know how you do it, though, man. I think that's the conundrum around Patrick Mahomes. I remember watching him on The Shop years ago after his first Super Bowl, and he told Braun and them that he's still learning how to read defenses. And everybody was like, oh, that's cap. But no, it wasn't, because you could even see the way he plays now versus then.
Yeah.
He knows, even when he's improvising, exactly where the ball goes. And there is just some players, like these elite players, who know a defense that well, and there's not a lot of them that could just have a natural feel. Like, if you've ever seen on the internet a baby who is 2 years old and knows how to read, or like a 3-year-old who can do like trigonometry, that's not something you can teach a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. Their brain composition in a perfect way was built for those things, mathematics or reading and comprehension. Like, it's just luck of the draw. Their brain waves and their mental makeup was perfectly composed for that. What I'm perfectly composed for is finding a hole in the defense. I can get the ball on my hand. I don't need to think about where I cut. I never have. Like, and there's some people that do that. When you get to the NFL level, most of those guys are like that. I just feel it. I know where the holes are going to be before they happen. And I so happen to have the quickness and speed to hit them, but it was just a feel thing always for me. Well,
what I'm perfectly composed for?
What you perfectly composed for, Ju?
Picking the shopping cart at Target without the squeaky wheel on it. I can
already know
and find the right one.
Gifted from an early age. So when it comes to Patrick Mahomes, he kind of has that. Like, everyone's like, well, why is he so good? He's not, doesn't seem super athletic. He's built like a gas station attendant. Well, he's perfectly born and composed
to be able to throw a football and just have a feel for where the holes in the defense are. There's not very many quarterbacks like that. I would say Joe Burrow is like that. CJ Stroud has that ability.
ROI.
Stafford sometimes, but there's just very, very few quarterbacks. Tom Brady obviously had it. Aaron Rodgers has it. Like they just know.
I tell you who don't have it. I know who don't have it.
We got a long list of people that don't get it.
Desmond Ridder is the leader in that category. He ain't got it.
That's messed up. Well, like I said, so Patrick Mahomes, you can't really game plan for him. And even late in the game when it's 4-from-1, he's like, I'm just going to run it. And then he got that tick that, okay, they're not covering me. I'm just going to rush. That man rushed for 66 yards. It's like one of his best rushing games ever in the Super Bowl, simply because he knows, well, if you're taking this and this and this away, I know this is the answer. So until you guard this, I'm just going to do this. And once you try to take that away, I know where this hole opens back up. Most quarterbacks, even though they're NFL level, even though they might be incredible players, they don't have that in-game ability that Patrick Mahomes has. And so I'm reluctant. I feel like with Kyle Shanahan, the conversation, yes, team should have been prepared. Yes, you got to be perfect. But as we've watched him go through these moments, Tom Brady in the 28-3 lead, the last time he played Patrick Mahomes, these double-digit leads that he loses against these generational players, we're like just trying to find the littlest thing to point to of why the loss is there, when the actual answer is, and he kind of alluded to it in a post game, like, yo, it's Mahomes and Tom Brady. What the hell you expect me to do? If you know anybody out there that can do any better, please send them over, because what the hell can you do against these players? And I kind of feel the same way.
I know what you could do in the third quarter, run the damn ball. I mean, I'm from the couch. You know what I mean? From the couch.
Look, bro.
It was two consecutive 3-and-outs passing.
There is like it's a damned if you do. I watch NFL Live, and they talking about, yo, you needed to be more aggressive. Where was your big time plays when he played Tom Brady against the Falcons? It was, why weren't you still throwing the ball? Why were you running the ball so much? Why were you being too aggressive? You were trying to do too, and you were too conservative. So you really are damned if you don't, damned if you do, because if he runs the ball and it doesn't work, you're not being aggressive enough. And you have to be aggressive against Mahomes. When he's trying to be aggressive, it's run the ball, man. This is the game. Just kill the clock. What are you doing? And that's the whole point I'm trying to make. I think Kyle Shanahan is an incredible coach. It's illustrated by how often he's in the NFC Championship and in the Super Bowl. But much like a lot of these quarterbacks in the AFC, in the NFC, like Josh Allen would have been a Hall of Famer
too soon
already.
Too soon.
If he was born in another era. I'm sorry.
Too soon.
Joe Burrow, who knows what his career will be. I will say he's one of the few quarterbacks that stares down the barrel of the Pat Mahomes gun, and he don't flinch at all. So who knows what will happen? But any of these quarterbacks would have already had Super Bowls if Patrick Mahomes was 5 years younger or 5 years older. And Kyle Shanahan would be in a conversation with Andy Reid and start to be in a Bill Belichickian type conversation if Patrick Mahomes didn't exist. But that's the nature of the business.
I say if he would have been there, I think they would have won last year if Purdy didn't get hurt last year. I feel like they were more equipped to win last year, but neither here nor there. You say he damned if he do it, damned if he don't. I tell you when he's not damned if he finds a way to get the job done and win a Super Bowl. So if he do that, then he won't be damned, and we'll get off his back.
Yeah, hopefully he can do that. How did you feel about Brock Purdy's game? You feel like Brock Purdy, a lot of conversation around Brock Purdy. Everybody act like he was a plumber that they signed off the street, but I thought he played damn good in the Super Bowl.
Right. I think he didn't lose them the game, which is what you want. Like, he didn't throw the ball away. He didn't have any untimely fumbles. He didn't make any bonehead decisions. I feel like he was great in that game. Maybe not great, but he did enough to win the game in that game. Mm-hmm. I don't blame him at all for anything.
So who do you blame? Who needed to play better in that game, in your opinion? Because it can't all be on Kyle Shanahan. That's the easy answer because he's the head coach. But
I mean, there were some times where I feel like Ayuk didn't get involved enough. So a lot of the stuff that was timing routes with Debo was thrown off by McDuffie and them boys. So it's like, it was just a lot to compute. Like you said, Brock Purdy may not have that computer installed just yet, that Patrick Mahomes, and they threw him so many different looks that it was kind of, and then you got big Chris Jones in your face somebody, please, anybody shoot him. So at some point, I think that the scheme around it was more valuable than the actual players in this scenario.
We needed him. We needed George Kittle to have a big game.
Right.
You needed Deebo Samuel to have a big game. You needed Ayuk to have a big game. Yes. And the reality is, for all the conversation around Brock Purdy and them saying how he has so much talent that's around him and that's the reason for his success, he kind of was one of the only people to bring his A game. And I would say McCaffrey, obviously McCaffrey balled out, and we probably needed a heavier dose of him. And Jennings was
Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, he was on his way.
Oh my God.
He was on his way. He was definitely on his way. The Greenlaw, when the Greenlaw thing happened, that's when I was like, okay, this just ain't their day. The fact that this happens in this way in the Super Bowl, if this would have happened on any other field, everyone would be talking about, this is why we got to get rid of the turf. I don't even know if that is grass. Is the Vegas field grass?
Yeah, it was grass. It has
outside. To be. Yeah. You know how I know it's grass? Because I didn't see it. I didn't see a single tweet from anybody saying about how the NFL doesn't care about their players and they need to change the surfaces. Could you imagine if that took place on turf, bro?
Oh my God, they would have been calling the
Roger Goodell would still be in jail today, bro. They would have gave him life without parole in a 5-day period in Vegas. We would be fighting. I would be out marching right now for Roger Goodell to get him out of prison. So I don't know. And man, I'm the wrong person to talk to because I always feel like that conversation is overstated by a bunch of people who it don't matter if you play on turf or grass. You was probably going to tell your Achilles anyway because you ain't that level of athlete. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to get into one of our favorite segments, Facts or Cat.
Starting is everything when it comes to fitness. Peloton helps you start no matter what level you're at. Wherever you're starting, there's thousands of classes to get you moving. Whether that's beginners or advanced rides, feel-good live DJ rides, or artist-themed rides, they've got something for you. Peloton bike instructors keep you motivated from day one. They'll show you the basics, help take the guesswork out of your workout, and encourage you to build from there. And now with Peloton Entertainment, you can keep moving and watch your favorite TV shows and live sports as you ride. Perfect for those days when you don't want to miss a thing. And if you don't have a bike, take a dance class, take a core class, take Pilates, take a stretching class, start a program with Andy, do a core program with Emma. You can do it all at Peloton. You can get a Peloton row, and you're not even going to get wet because it's inside your own house without water. How'd they do it? I don't know. Wherever you're starting, get moving with a Peloton bike or Bike Plus rental at onepeloton.com/bike rentals. Terms apply.